The 5-Minute Photographer with Shelton Muller.
Perhaps the greatest misconception about lenses is that they serve only a practical purpose. Wide-angle lenses fit things in. Telephoto lenses bring things close. And that's about it. But in reality, lenses are much more important to the photographer than just that. Lenses allow us to create images and reveal subjects, even everyday subjects, in a manner that is impossible for the human eye to interpret. Each lens has its own characteristics, and your decision to use a certain lens is just as much about creativity as it may or not be about practicality. Now, experienced photographers will often opt to use a lens because it helps achieve a creative conclusion, and not because it's absolutely necessary to use that lens in that situation. It could be said that a great percentage of images taken fail to engage simply because the photographer hasn't used the right lens to match his prevision. And this is because perhaps those photographers don't understand how lenses see and then use that vision to make their images more dynamic. The same subject, photographed in the same situation, but with a different lens, is interpreted completely differently. So, knowing how the lens sees the subject, and then choosing that lens to achieve that aim, is the key. So apart from their practical purposes, telephoto and wide-angle lenses are known for their unique perspectives. Simply put, telephoto lenses compress, and wide-angle lenses exaggerate. These properties alone make them invaluable tools for representing everyday subjects in a way the human eye never can. And this is what often makes photographs interesting and dynamic. Not necessarily the subject, but the lens used to interpret that subject. So, let's talk telephoto for a minute. The fact that telephoto lenses compress and seem to offer less visual depth of field or apparent depth of field makes them invaluable for simply highlighting a subject from what might otherwise be a distracting background. Fashion and portrait photographers are often known for using longer lenses for their photographs simply because of the flattering characteristics of the optics themselves on faces and in portraits. And of course, also within what might be a distracting context. Now, this is the reason that photographers not only buy long telephoto lenses, but fast ones too. Often it has nothing to do with how much light they let in, but rather how much depth of field, or rather how little depth of field they offer. A 70-200 or 80-200 f2.8 lens is a powerful tool because of its compression and its wide aperture and minimal depth of field. Together, they form a dynamic combination. On the other hand, wide-angle lenses grant the photographer greater visible depth of field, and so while exaggerating the perspective, they also keep everything in focus. Now, this combination is great for dynamic landscapes and seascapes, social comment and photojournalistic images and travel images, and even, from time to time, interesting portraits. Wide-angle lenses are great for exaggerating the dynamics of your composition. When wide-angle lenses are used, foreground subject matter can be very dramatic if placed close to the front element. Now, it's easy to take a few steps back and fit everything in with a more standard lens, but that's not the point. Wide-angle lenses add impact to the composition and the perspective and give sometimes greater reason for taking the picture. Wide-angle lenses distort lines and perspectives to a far greater degree than standard lenses, and so when they are used or placed near the subject, or used in an unusual way, from an unusual viewpoint perhaps, they actually offer a dynamic to that image that no other lens sees. So in certain situations, a photographer can exploit these to his advantage, knowing that the eye would never see the subject this way. So a photographer's lenses are his eyes to the world. They see the world and they represent his or her vision according to their imagination and of course in utilization, full utilization of that lens's perspective. So lenses are more than just practical utensils. They are creative tools, and they should be used as such. I'm Shelton Muller, and this has been another episode of The 5-Minute Photographer.